What does Star Citizen Alpha 3.17 currently look like feature-wise? Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Alpha 3.17 has had a lot of additions and changes over the last few months, and we've recently seen a lot of reveals for what's in the patch. I wanted to put together a video with all of the features and changes that we know are gonna be in that patch, and I want to put a bit more context to that, talk about those features. There is probably a reasonable amount that you didn't know was going to be in that patch now, so this patch is certainly not a light patch anymore. Let's start with some of the more major features, which we may have talked about a reasonable amount before, but it's worth talking about some more. Expanded selling and loot generation. In Alpha 3.17, players are able to sell a larger range of items to kiosks and shops that include FPS gear and weapons back to those shops at between 50 to 90% of their value. There are also updates to shops stock, meaning that a lot of items and gear will only be now found on bodies and in loot containers. So you might be going to a shop and going, I want to buy these items here. Oh, they don't sell them anymore. These loot containers have appropriate loot to the area or mission that they are found in, and they also have chances to drop uncommon or rare items. Basically, uncommon and rare items are only found in loot boxes and on bodies, and common items are found typically in shops. Players may want to keep these uncommon and rare items, but they can sell them to shops if they want, and sometimes at very high value, because there's going to be lots of interesting lootable items that can be sold. So this also appears to potentially include the selling and transportation of ship components and weapons to shops too, which is great. This opens up a whole range of opportunities for player trading, spending time looting, and affecting what missions and areas players will hang around in. You can expect various inventory and economy updates preparing the way for the cargo rework as well, so lots and lots of more minor tweaks and improvements to your inventory, how that works in different areas. The Starfarer gains part of its functionality with ship-to-ship refueling. This is another major feature. You'll be able to fill each of the Starfarer's 6 tanks with quantum or hydrogen fuel at landing zones and stations. You'll be able to refuel other players by deploying your fuel arm with the Starfarer, and then they will come towards you. They'll attempt to dock, ask you for a docking request. That allows them to dock in a similar fashion to the P-52 and Constellation sort of docking. Once docked together, the Starfarer can use a UI to set prices, and the docked ship can then use their Mobiglass to see the price and request an amount of fuel. Cloud Imperium have said that the funds are sort of held in an escrow type system and then are given once the transaction is complete or at intervals during the transfer of fuel. The Starfarer can then pump the fuel across and set the flow rate of the fuel. Transfer too much or too quickly, and then some fuel could be lost, and that fuel won't be paid for. You'll be able to undock at any time during this process or afterwards. Cloud Imperium did not confirm if you'd be able to trade and make profit from the sales of fuel at stations and landing zones, but I am hoping that you will, either in 3.17 live or a point patch. They did, however, confirm that there are no dedicated service beacons in yet for refueling, so you'll have to find players in chat or know them already, add them to your party, or respond to a different type of beacon to then give them fuel. There are certainly worries about piracy for both refueler and refuelee. How often will you be catfished? Cloud Imperium did also say a little while ago that there will be a sort of reserve fuel tank in ships, so that once a Starfarer is near them, that sort of reserve fuel tank will activate, and they can use that to dock with the Starfarer, which is useful, seeing otherwise you wouldn't be able to dock with them to get fuel. There are various ship updates beyond this as well, so we are expecting the Hull A in the game, which is a small but dedicated cargo hauler. It will be functional as a cargo ship in 3.17, but it does require the cargo rework and update so that it can make use of its external cargo properly, which will be in a later patch, so it's getting more functionality later. The Scorpius is, according to the roadmap, expected in Alpha 3.17 currently. However, Cloud Imperium have not been talking about it much, nor is it locked in. It is quite possible that this 2-person heavy fighter needs a bit more time, and they might release it in like a 3.17.1 patch after the initial build. But it might be in 3.17 live, we'll have to wait and see. Alpha 3.17 has some potentially impressive desync fixes and network updates, which are still ongoing. This gives more up-to-date positional and prediction data for entities and ships, and everything is much more synchronized. There were worries of potential jitter at high speeds, but Cloud Imperium seemed very happy with these updates, and apparently they've improved the game significantly. There are some new ships in shops, with the P-72 Archimedes and Cyclone MT both being confirmed as available to purchase in-game. Cloud Imperium have done a player experience pass and some ergonomic improvements, such as the air traffic control. There's now a key binding that you can set in the options menu that you can go, bam, I now contact the closest ATC as long as I'm in range. That's a very small but incredibly useful change. There is a ship and vehicle balance pass for fuel, but also general improvements. Turret acceleration, for example, is more realistic. Fuel numbers are getting tweaked, so it's important to refuel, but it isn't prohibitive to general play. This also includes tweaks to fuel scoops, max distances for ship travel, speeds that they can go. More character and FPS, first-person shooter related now. There is a FPS weaponry factor and animation update, so FPS weapons have had their recoil and handling changed, and they should look and feel better to use and give better gunplay and shot feedback. Some weapons behave very differently now, and they have a real range of use and specialization. We have various medical updates. The Lorville Hospital Maria Pure of Heart on Hurston is opening its doors, giving the planet all the medical services of the rest of Stanton's major landing zones, but in a more impressive way. Stations are also getting clinic updates to make them more varied and modular, so they're sort of unique in each station. There's been a injury and survival pass. Thirst and hunger are going to be a bit more aggressive, but still not prohibitive to play. It's still light survival mechanics. Bleed damage is less deadly, however injuries will have a scaling chance to trigger and be applied once certain thresholds have been hit per body part, and then they take damage again. There are less instant deaths too, with it much more likely to knock you down and have you bleeding out instead of just being insta-dead, even if you're shot with a sniper in the face. This should actually make the system less, oh no, I'm dead, and more actual gameplay and thought going into survival, as they sort of pave the way for Death of a Spaceman eventually. There are head updates for both players and NPCs, improving the quality of textures, eyes, and customization. From what we've seen, it's a noticeable improvement. Mining gadgets are being added. These are handheld devices that are deployed on minables. There are many types to purchase and use based on what you want to mine, making mining easier, more efficient, or just accessing harder rocks, and they have different benefits and negatives to them. Once placed on a rock, you'll need to align the wave signal by interacting with the gadget. Then you will return to your ship and then mine, and hopefully get the bonuses of whatever mineable mining gadget you put on there. You'll be able to retrieve the gadget after you have finished a successful mine, but don't hold your breath. If you blew up the rock, it's much more likely that you've destroyed that mining gadget. Something for me that is one of the most important features that Star Citizen has ever talked about and is now starting to add was the Quanta system. 3.17, according to Dodd Bappy, assuming that's still the case, is going to have the Quanta system at the first stage of that. So this is going to have dynamic pricing in-game for quantum fuel, hydrogen fuel, and repair resources based on what's going on in the general area. If there's a lot of activity there, prices will typically go up. Other things are also handled by the system. Combat service beacons, they're going to be driven by the system around 12 locations. The system also tracks the probability volumes of encounters and their makeup in regards to pirate security forces, freighters, and miners. This will then drive the dynamic universe simulation and hot zones. These are just the first steps to a dynamic economy and universe, but a necessary one, and it's really important having it all tied into the game, bringing a load of these features sort of together. We have environment updates too. We know that Cloud Imperium have been working on better clouds and visuals, along with a slew of minor improvements, but we have the first Microtech river and water updates. So, first river in the game, it's on Microtech. It's a single river to find and explore on that planet. Rivers have various harvestables along them. You can now enter the water as well with a helmet on, though there isn't a huge amount to explore under the sea. Hover vehicles can now also travel on top of the water, so roll-on river racing, I suppose. We know there are more Gen 12 render improvements, moving Star Citizen closer to Vulkan integration and generally a better-looking, better-performing and scaling game on a wider range of hardware. We have the coffee shop vendor too. Now, some people just dismiss this as something incredibly minor or meh, but hear me out. So Area 18 is getting an interactable coffee shop with an NPC vendor that dispenses soft drinks and coffees. So you can interact with them. I want a coffee, cool, silly. It's effectively a reskinned and updated bartender, but it's stepped towards the black market trader NPC and Cloud Imperium generally building out more refined and varied vendors on landing zones. Once we have a dozen or so of these NPCs and their behavior in each zone, then I think the verse will start to feel a lot more alive. It's important to get NPCs working correctly. That adds to a load of the sort of feel of the game. Some other stuff. There appears to be a huge amount of bug fixes and minor improvements to this patch. There's apparently no new mission content in 3.17, in the initial build anyway. However, maybe more in a point patch. We do know that Fleet Week is part of the 3.17 cycle. Do believe, however, that service beacons and some other sort of missions have had some updates, so sort of bear that in mind. Cloud Imperium are not currently planning an asset or inventory wipe for 3.17, so that stuff can change, but people keep on asking about that. Dynamic events can be triggered automatically or dynamically now, once certain triggers or thresholds have been met. Previously, things like Xeno Threat or Jump Town or the Nine Tails Lockdown, they had to be triggered manually by someone at Cloud Imperium. The 3.17 patch is still in testing at time of recording. We might see some changes or even additions to what we expect. At time of recording, I'm expecting 3.17 to go into Wave 1 PTU for the end of this week and 3.17 live early April. We will be seeing a ship sale at the same time it goes live or around that. That should include the Hull and Scorpius and any other new ships they've added. Ships that get major changes as well, like the Starfarer, almost certainly going to be on sale. But you could see some mining ships go on sale because they've got mining gadgets, for example. So any excuse to have more things on sale sort of makes sense. We do know that Fleet Week is at the end of May or towards the end of May, and obviously that's part of the 3.17 cycle. And you can expect a 3.17.1 patch to hit around then, almost certainly. But I'm really hype for 3.17. I think it's probably going to be the best patch we've had for Star Citizen yet, but we do have to wait until it's in our hands properly, and obviously there could be major issues that just pop up that make it less playable, but hopefully it's the most playable patch we've had, and all of this additional content is actually going to be something tangible that players enjoy playing. But what do you think? Are you looking forward to Alpha 3.17? Are you expecting any other features or updates for 3.17 that I haven't mentioned? Is there anything that you think Cloud Imperium should be addressing or adding in a patch ASAP? Do you own a Starfarer, and are you going to be going all out on refueling or spending your time searching for loot in bunkers or in wrecks? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I am French and sophisticated. I am also French and also sophisticated. Let us go on a date. Neither of these people are French or sophisticated. It was me doing a funny voice, as well as showing the horrors of dating online and what happens if you accidentally catfish yourself with two of your own accounts. But French people don't talk like that even. No one does. NordVPN can make you appear to be in France, but it doesn't make you French, as I've now found out. It can be used to improve security or give you more accessibility to the internet. I can watch all my favourite shows. Get yourself NordVPN today in the links below and maybe be a better version of yourself. Now that's shilling for you. Every month we have a Star Citizen ship giveaway, and March is no different. We have a Crusader Industries Mercury Starrunner. This multi-crew, multi-role, cargo and data running ship is my favourite ship in the game. It has loads of little smuggling holes. It's got a good amount of armament. It can do a little bit of everything in the game at the moment. To be in for a chance of winning it, just comment on any of my videos made during March. More details in the description below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and potentially even clicking that join button under my videos to help further support the channel. Share the videos around with your friends and family. You'll occasionally get exclusive videos, posts, and polls that help influence the channel, along with emotes and badges to show your support. It really does help. There's also a Patreon and direct donations tool for those inclined. Thanks for watching, and I hope that you have a great March 2022!